Hi YouTube, Folio Society reviewer here today to showcase Crooked House by Agatha Christie, illustrated by Sally Dunn. Charismatic businessman and patriarch Aristide Leonidas has been poisoned in his own home. Charles Hayward hoped to marry Leonidas' granddaughter Sophia, yet instead finds himself in the midst of a dangerous mystery. The eye of suspicion falls heavily on Aristide's second wife, the cuckoo in the nest, who was decades younger than her husband, and perhaps she couldn't wait a few more years for that hefty inheritance that she was due. The atmosphere inside the great house is thick with intrigue, and Charles is scrambling for the truth when a second attempted murder shocks the family to their core. Surely the killer couldn't be among them. It appears that the murderer knows the Leonidas family all too well, though, and their reign of terror is far from over. This edition features 7 color illustrations by artist Sally Dunn that perfectly capture the 1940s period and country house setting, as well as the binding design that, like Christie's writing, is both beautiful and sinister. Production details on this are it's 3/4 bound in cloth with a printed and blocked Modigliani paper front board. Satin bell with Cabela's display. Has 216 pages, a frontispiece plus 6 color illustrations, a plain slipcase, measures 9 inches by 5 3/4 inches. It does have the plain slipcase, but is a nice dark green color. I like the color on it, and it has a normal thickness to it. So all Folio Society books come with a slipcase, will protect your book, and that helps kind of justify the higher end collectible price of the book. The binding design is absolutely beautiful. The Modigliani paper looks great, has a little bit of a sheen to it, and the artist's illustration on the front by Sally Dunn looks great. You can see the needle going into the vial. You'll find out very early in the story that Aristide has been poisoned, so that's not too much of a spoiler there. And these plants are apparently poisonous. And there is a little bit of silver there on the front cover within the green. I really like the color choice on that. And then your spine has a nice green and silver, almost like a sea green, and has the silver title with the Folio Society logo on it. The back is just a solid black. And there is the band. So let's jump into the illustrations. I have read Crooked House, and I will say that Crooked House was my favorite Agatha Christie book so far that I've read. I've only read around 5 books. I've read some of the big hitters like Murder on the Orient Express, and Then There Were None, and another one was Endless Night. And this was my favorite so far. If you've seen the movie Knives Out, I think you'll love this book. It really, you can tell that Knives Out took a lot from this book in its plotting. So one interesting thing is I am going to talk a little bit about the illustrations slightly more in depth today, just because I have read the book, and I won't spoil anything, or at least too much of it, but I wanted to let you know that ahead of time that I do have a little bit of background on it, so I am going to share a little with you. So opening the book, see it just has the dark green end papers. Really like the dark green. One thing I did forget to say is this white, I do slightly worry that as you're holding the book, it could smudge, and if you had dirt on your fingers or oil, that it could become a little off color over time. It's already a little bit off white, which you may not be able to tell, but I do kind of worry about that. But I mean, it looks very sharp as is. So there's our frontispiece illustration, and this is Charles. He's the main character in the story, and he is in love with Sophia, who is Aristide, the man who's murdered in the story. He's in love with her and wants to marry her. And he kind of gets put into this web of lies and things going on within the house because he goes to visit her, he wants to marry her, and his dad is a police officer who is investigating the murder, and his dad wants him to kind of stick around at the house and kind of help a little, just to keep an eye out on things. It does have the textured paper, which I love. And you can just see she did a great job on those illustrations. I really like this style. They use another style with some of their other illustrations for their Agatha Christie books, and I like those too. This is printed in 2021. It's first printing, and it's printed in Germany on Abbey Wove paper. Here's our illustrations page. We get the author's foreword and title, Crooked House. So let's jump into the illustrations. So this is another gorgeous illustration of the police pulling up at the house, which is sort of like a mansion. And there's the text layout for you. Your next illustration, and this scene in the book is one where the lawyer is kind of coming back and reading the will to the family of Aristide and reading that will. So you can see many of the family members interested in what the will says. I won't spoil it, but there's a really interesting thing that happens during this in the book. And our next illustration is of Charles, and he is sitting with Josephine, who's a little girl in the story who is trying to uncover the mystery herself. She's trying to figure out who it is, and she has a little book that she's keeping notes in. She wants to know who killed her grandfather, and she has the attitude that the police are stupid, that they don't know what they're doing, and she's just a very interesting character in the book. This page, this illustration is of Aristide's new wife, his younger wife, and she is, the rumor is that she is kind of having an affair with the tutor at the house that's tutoring Josephine, Lawrence Brown. So that would be Lawrence Brown back there. And she meets him outside in the night. Okay, this is a scene in the book where Josephine goes missing, and they're wondering where she's at, and the room is ransacked, and they're looking for something. I don't want to tell you what they're looking for because I don't want to spoil it. And then the final illustration is the nanny in the house, and she's killed in the story. And so, great illustration there. There are multiple red herrings in this book. I mean, the reason I love it so much, it's been my favorite so far, is it just kept me guessing the entire time. I mean, I'm one of those people who read a mystery book and I'm always guessing who does it, and I'm always kind of coming up with my own idea of how all the characters could have done it, and thinking about each one and how they could have done it. But this one kept me guessing the entire time, and I did not guess the ending, and I was satisfied with the ending as well. So you have, you know, Aristide Leonidas is his two sons. Let me go back to that illustration with the whole family in the will. But you have his two sons, and they're married, and their wives, and everybody has kind of a reason to maybe want to kill Aristide. And even one of the wives is an actress, a famous actress, so you're always wondering, okay, she could be acting in this part of the book. What's going on? And there's a tension between the brothers. So there's just a lot going on. If you've seen Knives Out and you like the movie Knives Out, I would definitely recommend picking this up. If you haven't seen the movie Knives Out, I recommend it because it's a great movie. So, guys, thanks a lot for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this showcase. If you liked it, please subscribe. Please give me a thumb up, and that way I can keep putting some of these showcases out for you. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a great day.